We're back on extra rounds from UFC Fight Pass. I'm TJ De Santis. Please be joined now by Corey LaJoie. You might know him as the number 7 racer in the NASCAR Cup Series. I mean, I'm looking at your bio, Corey. Have you not done every job at this point? I think in racing, like you're a third generation driver, pit crew head. Like what haven't you done?
I don't know. If I haven't done it yet, I haven't found it. A lot of it is because it was a necessity.
Right.
I grew up, like you mentioned, my grandfather did it. My dad did it. And I made that choice for myself when I was 13, 14 years old to really pursue it. But my path, man, wasn't a straightforward path. So I had to get a little bit creative. I had to stay in the game.
I look at your progression, and we're going to get to how you made some comparisons to yourself and Conor McGregor. But I actually found comparisons, just with your story coming up, that are in line with a lot of wrestlers. Like in the Midwest, if you're not wrestling by the age of 5 years old, you kind of missed the boat. You were racing karts at 5 years old. I'm curious, do you remember the first time you got behind the wheel in a competitive race, or has it always just sort of been a part of your life and you can't remember when it started?
No, hey, everybody remembers their first. I don't care if it's a fight. You always remember your first. I was 4, and I remember because there was against one other kid, I won. I don't even think, looking back at it, being a dad myself, my son's 3. Thinking a year from now he's going to be in a go-kart. I don't think that they even give trophies out for 4-year-olds if I put some context to it.
Right.
And I think that I annoyed my dad enough, so I ended up lapping the other kid around this little tiny track at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And I think it was more of like a, hey, show up and bring your cart and we'll let these kids bang around a little bit.
Right.
But Dad told me there wasn't a trophy there, so I every day, is my trophy here yet? And he told me it's coming. It's coming in the mail. So I think my dad actually went to the trophy shop and made a trophy for me, and I still have that sucker to this day. So yeah, that was my first one. I've had a lot of ups and downs since then, and I've got a lot bigger and cooler trophies since then too.
Are you a hardware guy? Do you like getting the trophy? Is that as good as the cash in your mind?
The cash can buy a lot more stuff than the trophy can.
That's true.
But man, there's some really unique trophies in our sport. There's one of the ones that stand out to me. There's 2 of them that I have that I'm really proud of. Is Dover, Delaware. It's called the Monster Mile, and they have like a little caricature cartoon of like a concrete monster, and it holds your car and it holds a checkered flag, and it's like 2 feet tall, and it's a really cool, unique trophy. I have one of those from a lower division race I won, and then also Martinsville gives out a grandfather clock. So it's a Ridgeway 7-foot tall clock that you win when you win there. And I've got one of those suckers that is ticking away in my dining room. So those are 2 of my favorite trophies.
See, that's what I love. I love college football, especially in like the Big Ten. They're playing for like Paul Bunyan's Axe when Minnesota plays Wisconsin, and Iowa plays Minnesota for like a bronze pig. Like I just like things that like celebrate a victory in unorthodox ways. Like you win an Indy, you got to drink milk, right?
That's right. Yeah, and you kiss the bricks and you do a lot of quirky stuff there. But that's, you don't care how dirty those bricks are. If you get a chance to kiss those things, you had a good day.
Absolutely, 100%. So you mentioned ups and downs in your sport. There are ups and downs, I think, in any sport at the highest level. We saw that on the Conor McGregor Netflix documentary. And you actually drew some inspiration from that. Tell me about it.
Yeah, man, it gave me a little bit more of appreciation for Conor because, it gave me a peek behind the curtain of how much of a showman he is, and how much work, though, he does put in to back it up. Because I don't care how much of a mouth you have. If you don't put the work in, you're never going to reach the level of success that a guy like Conor did. So I don't know if I have that amount of self-confidence that I can just crack at the other guy or the other 35 guys, right? That's the difference in our sport, right, too, where, it's not a 50-50 chance of me winning it. I don't even know what the odds are. Sometimes it feels like it's infinite odds. But you have to have that inherent confidence in yourself. And I think everybody balances that different. But to have, and even since that documentary, I was like, maybe I need to like pump up my self-confidence game a little bit to like really believe in what you're capable of doing. Because if you don't believe it, then who the hell else is going to believe it? And I appreciate Conor in that regard of like he can mouth off. Sometimes he toes the line and crosses the line. And the documentary did a good job of like him addressing it and him realizing it.
Yeah.
But I also think like he's confident enough in his preparation and his skills to be able to talk it and also back it up. And
Right.
Since then, I've really been leaning into, a lot of books of just self-confidence and things like that to also like, there's some pros to his game and how he approaches it. And there's always some cons, especially if the guy on the other side of the ring wants to kill you. I don't know if getting that guy wound up is probably the best idea, but that's why I don't step in a cage. I just step in a roll cage every weekend.
There you go. I was hoping you were going to go there with the roll cage tie-in. I love it. I love it. Looking at Conor, you talk about confidence and, there's a fine line between, confidence and cockiness. And I think that line is generally success, right? If you go out there and you say you're going to do something and you believe in yourself, if you do it, it comes off like, man, that guy's the most confident person in the world. And look what he did. But if you falter, man, everyone calls you cocky. They say you overlooked the challenge and all of that. And man, it's one thing with Conor that I think is so amazing is, 9 out of 10 times he seems to say something and end up doing it or coming pretty damn close to doing it. And, I'm just curious. Some of it is a bit for show. How much do you think, his attitude is, just puffing his chest out a little bit and maybe, making himself believe it a little bit more? Because I don't know if I've met anyone that's that confident, Corey.
Well, I mean, there is probably a little bit of a level of insanity you have to do what he does, and to also absolutely sell your soul to get to the pinnacle of a combat sport such as UFC. I mean, that's your life, right? Like
Right. Yeah.
You see guys dedicate every waking hour to trying to pursue to being the best. Because if you're not, the next guy is. And if you don't wake up and tell your in that particular sport, our sport, to draw, there are a lot of comparisons, but there are probably a lot of things that aren't where, I could tell myself I'm the greatest. And at the end of the day, that ranking next to your name, or if your car's not set up perfect that day, you could be the 20th greatest, right? I mean, it's just like there's so many competitors that are elite that it's hard to really hone that in. But if I also showed up to the racetrack every week telling myself that I was a 25th place guy, I can assure you that I'm probably not going to be ever better than a 25th place guy. I know that when I tell myself and when I wake up in the morning or when I'm here at the GM Tech Center right now, about to jump in the simulator and go, I tell myself to prepare like a champion. And that's why I keep showing up, because I might not be a champion right now, but I'm working towards that with the intention and the mindset to be able to come that. And there's a lot of stuff I drew from Conor. Now, you kind of breeze over something I wanted to get back to. The people like to see those loudmouth guys get punched in the face and get knocked out and see them get, knocked down from kind of their high horse. But the loudest voices are from the cheap seats, man. The guys who are in his corner, see the work he's putting in, those guys aren't happy to see him lose or get beat up or break a leg. So the people who know, whether it's your family, whether it's your corner coach, for me, it's my crew chief and owners and engineer, like those guys see the work I'm putting in to make us a better race team. So the only ones that really are the ones that with the loud mouth saying that you should do better or you suck or this, that, those are the ones that don't have any equity in your career. Right. And those are the ones that are sitting up on the couch wishing they were the ones doing it themselves.
You know what? And those are also the guys that are still asking for a photo when they run into you in public.
Yeah. I've had a great line the last couple of weeks, man. Somebody said that, because I come up a lot of guys my age, Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, Bubba Wallace, all the guys, kind of the next wave of NASCAR drivers. And there was plenty more my age that had probably more talent than me and just couldn't hang. They couldn't play the game. They couldn't, continually evolve with whatever situation they were in. And somebody asked me the other day about like the guys who didn't make it. And I said, yeah, there's a lot of guys out there that are my real estate agent that I used to race against. Now I'm asking those guys to go find me $1 million house.
Right.
So it's funny, man, where if you really set your focus on it, if you leave an inkling of doubt in your mind that you can't do it, it's not going to happen. And for me, even though I got pushed out and had to be a crew chief and go over the wall and do some different things that weren't driving a race car, I never lost that focus of, like, I'm doing all this to cultivate relationships to eventually get back behind the wheel of a race car. And luckily enough, I was naive enough to let it work out.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about passion, in my opinion. That's what you just described there is passion. And yeah, man, I don't know. You know, we talk a lot about MMA and, you know, the physical confrontation, and it's a fight. You can walk out hurt. I honestly, Corey, I'm not a fighter. I never want to be a fighter. Like Dana White says, do you want to be a fighter? My answer is no, absolutely not. But I would rather, I think, step into a cage than try to race a race car as fast as you do, because I'll kill myself in one of those cars.
No, well, if you saw Ryan Preece last week at Daytona, my man went for a tumble, bro.
Yeah.
And I think that goes to show how far NASCAR's come with safety, because you don't wreck bigger than that. You just don't.
Right. Yeah.
And for the fact that him to race this weekend, I mean, he shook it off. They took him to the hospital precautionary just to check him out. But, you know, NASCAR's worked so hard to, knock on wood, we haven't lost anybody since Dale Earnhardt in 2001, man. That's a big
a long time
undertaking. Yeah. So I promise you, I have a much better chance of dying walking into a ring with Stipe Miocic than I do this weekend at Darlington. So that's why I drive.
Yeah, well, there you go. I'm just saying, you know, mentally too, what a battle it is to come back from a wreck too. I mean, I think almost all of sports, I mean, who said it? I don't remember who said it. Yogi Berra, half everything's 90% metal or something like that. I don't know. He says,
no, baseball's 90% metal and the other half's in your head.
There you go. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Same thing. It applies for all sports at the highest level, I think.
Yeah, no doubt. It's all relative. Even though you don't do different stuff, it takes the same amount. It takes everything you got. It takes every ounce of emotional and intellectual energy you have, physical energy you have. If you want to sustain, getting there is one thing, right? Stepping into the ring, starting the Daytona 500 is one thing. It's another thing having a 2, 3, 10-year career at the highest level of whatever sport you do. And that's what, luckily, my dad taught me to kind of forego short-term validation, short-term fix, or the short dollar is what he always says. Go for the long dollar. And my podcast name is Stacking Pennies, which is just doing all the small details, whether it's your habits on a daily basis in your personal life or the small details in the shop or on the racetrack to ultimately add up to a day. So we're stacking pennies. We're going for the long dollar and starting to pay off.
There you go. I mean, I'll take $1 million in pennies any day.
I don't know if I'd want to count it or buy a house with $1 million pennies, but it's worth the same amount.
100% true. But I'm a bad counter, so I'd probably end up short somehow, one way or another. Corey, I appreciate the time, sir. Thank you very much. We're going to check out the podcast, Stacking Pennies, and of course, going to be tuned in and, cheering for you and your journey. You put it into perspective for someone like me who's a big mixed martial arts fan and talk about the mental game. Honestly, I'm thinking about racing differently.
I hope you do, man. Check us out. And too, man, I'd recommend for you, if you're just dipping your toe in the water, get the NASCAR app, because the way you can watch a race with in-car cameras and you can listen to our video or our audio chat throughout the race, talking about strategy, it's so much more than what just watching it on TV is. And man, I assume you're out in Vegas, like all things UFC. Where are you out of?
Southern California, but Vegas is 3 hours away.
Man, maybe we're there in Vegas. I think the end of September. So I'd love to have you out and actually give you a peek behind the curtain of what we do.
That'd be awesome. I love the video game. I'm always playing the video game, but when I turn it up to like a normal setting, if I'm not in an easy setting, I can't compete.
Well, that's why you get paid to talk and I get paid to drive.
There you go. We'll leave it at that. Corey, appreciate the time, sir. And hopefully we'll chat soon.
Yeah, man. Thank you.